Hey folks, Jonathan here. Following day, did a lot of thinking, a lot of measuring, and kicking things around about what we're going to do here. And I'm going to show you exactly the plan. We're going to do it, and then we're going to see how it looks. I think this will take care of our problem. Okay, I can narrow the entire fork setup a 1/2 inch. And we'll do that by taking a 1/4 inch off of each side of the lower triple tree. And so that's going to bring us in a 1/2 inch total. Then we're going to take a 1/4 inch off of each one of these. It's going to bring us in another 1/2 inch. That's so 1 full inch in. And then we are going to actually take these fork plates and put them in the brake, and we're going to bend them in. And I hadn't figured the degrees yet, but we're going to bend them in and then bring them straight up, and they're going to come into the bottom of here. And I'll probably have to shorten them up and actually build a plate or a square. I should have one here. I've got some 1 inch square pieces that will actually go in, and then we can bolt it in or weld it in however we need to do it, and then bolt the forks to each side of it with bolts running through. That way we can narrow the top triple tree up there. So I think that's going to solve most of our problems. It's going to give us a different line on this. It'll be at an angle, and it'll narrow us up enough that, you know, I can live with it. And it's not really down here that's the problem. You know, I don't mind that so much. It's actually up here. And when that top triple tree was that wide from the start, you know, I should have known it just wasn't going to look the way that I wanted it to look. And you know, maybe on a different bike, something where I was running a wide rear tire and maybe an engine that was wider and stuff, but just on this particular bike I just didn't like it. And a lot of suggestions, a lot of ideas, and basically, you know, a lot of people had suggested narrowing these up. I could narrow them up, take a 1/2 inch off of them, but I really don't want to do that. I want to keep it open. The farther the stance is width-wise, the stronger these are going to be. And as for the shocks are fine. There's plenty of meat for these shocks. These are not, you know, them aren't toy shocks. We're not worried about them. Rockers we can make. Somebody had mentioned about the trail. With the forks coming out like this, it's going to be hard for me to get the trail I want, but we're going to try to get 3 inches of trail, and we'll see how that works out. And you know, this it'll all come together though, one way or the other. And what I'll have to do is narrow these shocks. Have got a brass bushing, so I'll have to narrow each side of this up to bring it into 3/4, and I may have to grind a little bit off my lip there to where it will clear, but that's not an issue. But it's going to be a lot of work, but you know, it's something that I feel has got to be done. It's just not looking the way I wanted it to look. And like I said, down here I'm not so worried about it. You can have a wheel and a tire and stuff in here and a fender, and you know, it's going to fill this area in. It's just the top section is what's really bothered me. But if I bring it in a full inch here and then bring it in the tops, you know, a couple inches, then that's going to solve all our problems. And we'll figure out what we're going to do on the bars, which bars we're going to use and stuff. As now, with it big like this, then big bars look good, but once it gets, you know, narrowed up, it may not. I'm probably still going to build the bars. You know, this is just something to look at and get ideas off of. So anyway, we're going to get at it, go ahead and get it back apart. Okay folks, I have got the forks bent like I want them. I got these down to a 1/4 inch narrow, 3/4. You can see the gap stays the same. I got a bend here coming up and a bend here, and I have got this narrow, so it's ready to go. And I'm working on the top part now, and I'll show you. And yeah, free pies. I think that was free. Don't know where that cardboard came from, but I know I've had a few people mention about the pies, but it does say diesel engine. Maybe they're diesel engine pies. So here's our piece. This is what we've machined out. I hadn't touched it yet, but this is what we already had. So what I was thinking about was I was going to run 2 slots. Just go 1/4 inch slots and let that piece slide up in there. Drill my holes in. But I got to thinking about it, if I do that, they're not going to tighten up. So, you know, I was going to leave the 3/4 on this, bolt the outside of it, tighten it up, let the bolt go through the other fork into this one. So I'm definitely not going to do that because we need this inside one to be tight. So we're going to go ahead and mill this off, and we'll mill it out to where it needs to be here, and then we'll just drill it and tap it and put it in, and should work out fine. So we're going to get at that right now. See if we can get her finished up. We'll still have to make the 3/4 blocks to go in between, and we'll drill through them because we definitely want that inside one tight. So, all right, let me get at it. Okay, folks, I have got everything ready to go here. Still have to drill and tap down here and make the 2 3/4 inch plates for that. I just got this sitting on here, but I wanted to show you something because I'm going to show everything. I'm not going to hide anything I do because sometimes you have problems, and you know, sometimes you got to fix them. So I had something pretty major happen when I was doing this this triple tree, the top. You know, I narrowed it all up like I wanted it, and I was tapping it, and as you can see, them are fine, and one of these are fine. The other one, I broke the tap off. Now, what I done to fix this, to keep me from having to make another one, the tap was all the way through down into there. So basically what I done was open up the bottom from here, this wall over, and I took a hammer and a chisel, small chisel, and I started busting that tap up, and I just busted it up completely. And then when I got it all out of here, I went down below, or down through the hole, and actually busted it on through. So of course that messed everything up thread wise and stuff. So I welded the hole up, and you know, just a rough weld, and then I machined a pocket out for a nut. So now we're just going to put a nut on the inside. This will be hidden, you won't ever see it, but I just wanted to show everybody, you know, what I've done to fix it, because I wasn't going to go through the time and trouble of having to make a whole nother triple tree top, because I've got too much time in this the way it is. But like I said, it's not, you know, I'm not going to say it's the right way to fix something or anything like that, but you know, I'm going to do it the way I want to do it, and it's my bike. So but there you go. That was the only feasible way of doing this without rebuilding it. And you know, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So I'm going to get this thing together. I've got everything bent, and the 1/4 inch off the bushings, and we'll at least get it bolted together with the top bolts, and then because I've got to do that to make sure we drill the bottom ones right and not break a tap off. I bottomed the tap out. I didn't get the hole drilled far enough. That's what, you know, what the problem was. And I'm trying to use, you know, nice long bolts in it, not just, don't want to just run 3 or 4 threads. And so anyway, let me get this thing together and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay folks, got it on here. Like I said, 1/4 inch here, 1/4 inch here, 1/4 inch on each one of these, and then brought the front end, or the top of the forks in. So I am much happier with it. I think it looks much better. Still, I'm kind of iffy on the square fork, you know, the flat fork, but you know, it's fine. Once the headlights on it, fender, all that, I think it'll be just fine. If I had to do over again, would I use flat? Probably not. But it's done, it's there, it's how I want it. Now this piece here, as you can see, it's down a little bit low. I haven't machined this yet. It's exactly 3/4 on the outside, but I hadn't machined the top and bottom. I didn't even do this one yet. So I've got to machine them, and then I've got to make 2 more to go here, and then drill the holes and tap it, and that'll be good to go there. Everything's lining up good, looking good, and got to narrow our shocks up and get started on the rockers, and trying to figure out what the trail's going to be. You know, the rake was 32. With this brought forward like this, it's going to make it a little tougher, but I'm trying to get, I really need to get 3 inches out of it, but it may only get 2. But for anybody that don't know what trail is, I'll show you pretty simple. This is trail. With this wheel behind the pivot point, you know, if you push this way, this wheel will spin around and follow. Well, trail is the wheel following. So basically what you've got is you got a straight line coming from your neck all the way down to the ground. It's an imaginary line, and let me get a level. I should have one right here. So basically, if we put this level here, and I really can't get a real trail until I get my tire and everything on. But you can see where this goes to the ground. And let me switch hands. You can see, let me see if I can hold it. It takes, about like putting these forks together, you know, it takes 4 arms and I've only got 2. But you can see the angle it goes down. So basically what you would do, flat ground, this thing being straight, you would follow that line all the way to the ground with the tire and everything on it. And then you would basically drop a line from the center of the axle of the wheel straight down. And what you want is the center of the axle to be behind the point where this piece contacts with the ground. So if it's 2 inches behind and you got 2 inches of trail, you know, or you can have 3 or 4, but without the trail you don't have a manageable bike. When you let go of the handlebars, it's not going to stay straight. You know, it's just not going to steer right. So the longer the trail you have, the better it's going to stay straight, but when you go to turn, you're not going to get as much response. So, you know, 3 inches, Mike could get by with 2, but you know, we don't want it too responsive, but we don't want it to be too unresponsive. So, you know, there's a lot to that when you really get into it, and you know, your rake changes everything. So you know, to make a bike handle good, you know, most factory bikes come 33. In other words, I think, and don't quote me on this, but I think 30-degree rake and a 3-inch trail will get you the best overall. You know, easy to ride and, you know, still be responsive. So that's how that works. Tank, I think we're going to go just like we was planning. We don't have to go wider now because of our smaller triple tray. I know I'm going to have to take the front end like we're going to do the back, taper it in so it does clear the forks. And I can move the tank back far enough that it wouldn't, but I don't like that look. And we'll probably end up building a set of small, you know, bars for it, and of some style or some type. And I just prefer to build everything on it. As of right now, I have got $12.99 plus tax in the bearings for the fork tube, and that's all the money I've spent. This steel, like I said, I had it laying around. Most of it came from the I think it was IBM up around Raleigh, around that area. You know, a friend of mine had bought a bunch of machines there, and he told me if I would haul the machines and some metal for him, that he'd give me some. So I mean, I've got labor in it, don't get me wrong, but I don't have you know, a bunch of cash or anything in it. And bolts, of course, you know where they came from. Joey's dad, the late dad, from, you know, the hardware store. It's out the door and to the right. But you know, so I haven't spent any money, and I probably am going to buy the wheels before we're done. And so, you know, I may spend a little money before it's over with, but you know, as for now, we're not into this thing for really much anything. I know somebody said that they was sending some socket head cap screws, stainless, and believe it or not, Scott, good friend of mine, fellow rat rod builder and fellow YouTuber, He came and bought my that 62 Pontiac Grand Prix the other day, and he is actually doing some videos on it. Some of you may remember me picking it up, so I'm going to leave a link to his YouTube channel in the description. But he actually, while he was up in Greensboro, because he works up that way, he picked me up some socket head cap screws, the right length for the forks and for the frame, but he polished them. He went ahead and polished all of them for me and brought them to me. But you know, so like I said, somebody said they're going to send some in, and I still need more. So we're going to do some work on the tank and a few other things to where we're going to add some more in. You know, it's sort of going to be the theme of the bike, I guess. But you can see one of the socket head cap screws. That's one of the ones that he had sent that has already polished, stainless. So, and all the rest of the holes, I've still got the other ones in. So, going to work out nice. We'll start, you know, getting things where they need to be and getting mounted. And if I, you know, going to run lights and stuff on this, I've got a little generator that I'm going to put on it. Our sprocket's going to be out some, so we may belt drive it off of here, just for fun. And so some of this room that you're seeing that's open in here, you know, is going to get closed in with stuff anyway. We're just going to try to keep everything looking decent. And but so far so good. I'm happy with the forks. I'm glad we went ahead and narrowed them. I wouldn't have been happy the whole time, you know, if I hadn't went ahead and done it. And you know, like I said, I'll get everything machined off like it needs to be and get back in there. The side bolts did not line back up because of my bends, so I'm going to weld the inners up, grind them, re-drill through these into it and re-tap it, and then we'll just put them back in. So they'll be back in just like they're supposed to be. And we've maintained our three-quarter gap on both sides all the way up through. So worked out really well. So I think that's about it. I appreciate everybody watching, and till next time, bye.